Hear your favorite NFL legends sharing their stories and insights every week right here on Thursday Night Tailgate with Chris Mascaro and Bob Lazari. Take it away, guys.
The door is locked. There's no way out.
And now joining us on the Kyvan Foods guest line is our third former Jet of the night and second former safety, and that's Erik Coleman. Let me remind you about Erik's background. He's from Sacramento, California. He attended Lewis and Clark High School, where he lettered in football and basketball and helped them to the state title in football his junior season. His senior season, he played both ways, rushing for nearly 1,200 yards and picked off a team-high 6 passes as well. Played his college ball at Washington State, where he majored in communications. He helped them to 3 straight bowl game appearances, I should say, winning the 2001 Sun Bowl over Purdue and the 2003 Holiday Bowl over 5th-ranked Texas. His senior year, he tied for the Pac-10 lead in interceptions with 7. He was named a first-team All-Pac-10 player. He was a 5th-round draft pick in 2004 by the New York Jets, and he played in the league from 2004 to 2012 with the Jets, Falcons, and Lions. Over the course of his career, he made 653 tackles, had 11 interceptions, forced 4 fumbles, recovered 1 of those, and had 2 sacks, and he's currently working with our partners over at the NFL Alumni Association. We're honored he is with us tonight here on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Erik, Chris, and Bob here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Erik.
How you guys doing? That was some introduction. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Great to have you.
So, Erik, I wanted to start out our time with you tonight by getting your thoughts on your alma mater, Washington State. They got off to a good start with a win over Montana State last Saturday, and they're ranked 20th and 22nd in the 2 polls right now. You got Boise State coming up this weekend. How do you feel about your Cougars this season?
I feel strong about the Cougs this year. I think that, the main concern last year and the years prior were the defense. But Alex Grinch, the defensive coordinator, has done a great job with that defense. They had a shutout last week against Montana State. And, you can say what you want about how good Montana State is. It's still tough to finish a game with a shutout. And, I love that Luke Falk came back to school. He's one of the greatest passers in Pac-12 history, yards-wise and efficiency-wise. They do a great job. So I'm excited about them this year and I'm excited to watch this matchup this week when they play Boise State.
So give us your thoughts on the Pac-12, right? We've seen a resurgence, obviously, with your alma mater, Washington State. The University of Washington had a great year last season. USC is currently in the top 10 for Washington State. Are they going to be a team that can stay consistent in the Pac-12 and be a leader, year in and year out within that conference?
Yeah, I think that, when you talk about the Pac-12, it's such a great conference, and there's so much talent and so many good teams from top to bottom that it's hard for them to nationally get a lot of respect just because they beat up on each other so much. I mean, you talked about USC, and everyone saw the comeback from UCLA last week when Josh Rosen led them back against Texas A&M. Let's not forget about Stanford in the Pac-12. So there's a bunch of teams, University of Washington, Washington State. There's a bunch of teams there that have the ability to have success nationwide. But, I think Washington State is starting to get that consistency. They're getting the recruits that they want. Mike Leach has done a great job of turning around the program. And I'm excited to see them succeed in the coming years.
So, Erik, I'm curious to get your thought. What's it like for you now when you go back to Spokane and you go on campus? They've made some investments. They've upgraded the facilities lately. But as a guy who had so much success, not only there and then in your pro career and the things that you're doing now, what's it like for you when you go back on campus?
You know what? It was a proud feeling that I had. Seeing the new facilities. We have a $30 million football facility in the stadium. There's so many buildings that have been added to the campus. I can't help but feel proud because I know that the guys that I played with and myself, we laid the foundation for that, and we're some of the reason why some of those buildings are standing there. So it's a very good feeling. It makes me feel proud to go to Pullman, Washington, and see such a beautiful campus and such great facilities, and to see them have success. It's just really is an overwhelming feeling.
Bob, questions for Erik?
Great to speak with you, Erik. And my first question, I'm wondering about a guy like yourself. born on the West Coast, high school on the West Coast, college on the West Coast, and you find yourself starting a professional career, Erik, 3,000 miles away and in a big city like New York. I mean, what kind of transition was that? Was it pretty easy for you? Because you played very well that rookie year.
Well, it was tough. I admit that when I got here to New York, when I was drafted, I didn't really like it. I came from, from playing in Pullman to, playing in Rose Bowls where, you'd have a press conference with 12 reporters to come into practice for the Jets and just a regular practice and have 40 reporters in your face. It was a big culture shock for me, but, it grew on me. There's good people out here in New York. They're real, they're up front, and I love that and appreciate that. And what also helped is I met my beautiful wife here. She's from New York, and she's very close to her family. So, once we decided to get married and start having children, I knew that I was going to end up back here in New York. And I have a great relationship with the Jets. And so the broadcasting route really took off for me here in New York. And, it's just been great. It's really been a blessing. So many good people, so many great opportunities, have a business here. And I started working with the NFL alumni. And it's just a great fit, just a good location where I can reach so many different people from such a great city.
And I was fortunate enough to see you play for those 4 years in New York, down at the Meadowlands. I went to a bunch of games, and thank you for that. Some great memories, Erik. And for those people out there listening that aren't too familiar with the X's and O's, you played the safety position, and the strong safety, free safety. What was your favorite favorite lineup to play in? And can you maybe explain to our listeners, Erik, the difference between the positions?
Well, my favorite, if I had to answer my favorite lineup to play with, it would have had to been, my early Jets career, playing free safety with, like Kerry Rhodes and Eric Barton at linebacker, John Abraham rushing. Actually, Kerry wasn't there when John was there, but, having Sean Ellis and, all that talent that we had in New York, it was a lot of fun. I was very productive. I was fortunate to play with, corners like Ty Law and Terrell Buckley, Darrelle Revis. I played with some great players. So I think that was probably my favorite time. Then when I signed with Atlanta, I played free safety my first year with Lawyer Malloy, and that was awesome. Lawyer has had so much success in the NFL, such a great player, and to be able to learn from him and play next to him was an honor. And then later after Lawyer left the Falcons, I moved to strong safety myself. And it was a big transition for me. It was a lot of fun. You go from playing free safety where you're making tackles in the open field, you're the eyes of the defense, you're doing all the communicating, you have to cover a lot of wide receivers, to being in the box and covering tight ends and being in the run fits and just going into the box and just banging more. It was a lot of fun. It was something I really enjoyed. So, I can't say one was better than the other, but, they both just bring different dynamics to the game. And it was just so much fun. I enjoyed every minute of my NFL career, and I was very blessed and fortunate to play 9 years for some very good teams. I went to the playoffs with every team I played on and played with some great players. So it was just all around, it was just a blessing.
And Erik, to Bob's point, your rookie season, you got off to a tremendous start, right? You had interceptions in your first 2 games. I'm curious, what do you remember? What do you remember about your introduction to the NFL? Was there a welcome to the NFL kid sort of moment for you? And then you come in and you get interceptions in back-to-back games. The second one off Drew Brees in San Diego. Talk about that start.
Yeah, it was funny. I was just talking about my first NFL game was we played the Cincinnati Bengals. It was Carson Palmer at quarterback and Chad Johnson, TJ Hushmanzada, Peter Warwick were the receivers. And my hello to the NFL moment was it was about 4 minutes left in the game. We were up by a couple of touchdowns. I'm guarding Chad Johnson in the slot. They go deep on me. I'm the rookie. They need a touchdown. And I see the ball in the air, and I'm like, man, I'm going to go get this ball. And it keeps gliding. And then all of a sudden, I think I'm in a good position, and Chad Johnson just dives in front of me, catches the touchdown. And it just really broke my heart. I felt like I let my teammates down, and the world was going to end. I'm in New York. I just gave up a touchdown. It was just a tough feeling. And then I got to the sidelines, and Sean Ellis, Eric Barton, a couple other guys just grabbed me and told me, listen, get your head up. We need you for the rest of the game. This isn't going to be the last time you get beat for a touchdown. And, the next drive, they got the ball back. It was under 2 minutes. They're driving down to try to get the game-tying touchdown. And there I am guarding Chad Johnson again in the slot. And, I'm the rookie. I just gave up a touchdown, and they go at me again. And I was able to break on the ball, make a great play, and got an interception and sealed the game for us. So it was just a showing of the ups and downs of playing in the NFL. It taught me a lesson about just staying even-keeled and letting the next play, letting the last play go and focus on the next. It was a great moment for me.
So, Eric, fast forward to the game now. I want to get your thoughts on where the Jets are at this point, right? They let several key veterans go over the offseason, gone to a complete youth movement. How do you feel about the direction that the franchise is going in, and your thoughts on the job that Todd Bowles has done so far?
Well, the Jets are in a tough position right now. When Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles got hired, there was a ton of salary cap space left by Izek. They had some big holes to fill, so they signed some key veterans. They brought back Darrelle Revis, signed Eric Decker, brought in Brandon Marshall. There were a lot of big money moves that they made to make a splash early. It almost worked. They had 10 wins in that first season. Then the next season, it kind of backfired on them. Some of those injuries crept up from the older guys. Some of the veteran players didn't play up to their standards, what they had been playing to. You talk about Revis and didn't have a good season. Brandon Marshall, definitely didn't have a good year. Eric Decker was hurt. Nick Mangold was hurt. It was just a tough year. And I think they realized that it was time to start investing in the youth and moving forward with the team. So they got rid of all their veterans. They started working on the free agent market, and it's probably something they should have done at the beginning, but now they're in that rebuilding mode where they're getting young. And I think sometimes when you have older players who are getting a lot of money and have a lot of experience in the league, it can kind of prohibit the younger players from developing. So I think that they shed that weight in order to find out what kind of players do they have for the future. And they're in that position right now. A lot of people are counting them out, as they probably should. There's a lot of holes in the offensive line. The quarterback situation is an unknown, although they do have Josh McCown at quarterback. But, they're really just trying to see who's going to be on the Jets organization, who's going to move forward with the team. And in the meantime, they have a great defense. They're going to play hard. They're going to be competitive. And, I'm looking forward to watching them grow this season.
Eric, one more before we let you go, and you're involved now with our partners there over at the NFL Alumni Association. Talk about the great things you guys are doing, for the former players, plus in the community all over the country.
Well, one of the things that I really liked about the NFL alumni before joining the team was that they help players. They help former players out. They're also a charity that gives back to the community and gets involved with children's organizations. So those are two things that are near and dear to my heart. So, it was a great fit for me. I'm definitely thankful to be a part of their team. My position is Director of Chapter Relations, and my job is to manage the 35 chapters that we have around the country, and just to be a resource to them, helping them out, giving them ideas on community involvement, things they can do to raise money for Children's Foundation. And another part of it was being a former player. A lot of people ask me, do you miss playing football? And if you ask most guys, they don't miss playing the game. They miss that locker room. They miss the camaraderie that you had with your teammates. And I think that's something that's great about the NFL alumni with the chapters is everyone gets together. They have quarterly meetings, and they'll have different events where the guys can get together and just talk ball. You can talk to your colleagues and tell stories about, what happened when you played, and you can keep each other abreast of what's going on with benefits and different issues that are going on around the league. So, it's just a great fit, great organization. I'm definitely proud to be a member, to be a part of the team, and we're doing some great things moving forward, and just some real exciting things for the players.
That's great stuff. You guys really are, and I think that that needs to be publicized a lot more and a lot harder, because the things that you guys do, not only for the former players but for kids and the organization, it's fantastic. So kudos to you guys, Erik. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. Thank you for sharing your stories and what the NFL Alumni Association is doing. Let our listeners know, Erik, how can they stay up to date with what you're doing, whether it's online or it's over social media?
With me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. My names are Erik Coleman, at ErikColeman. Facebook, I have a personal page. It's Erik J. Coleman. And, I try to keep my family, keep my friends on the West Coast and around the country. I try to keep them updated on what I'm doing with my career. I'm doing a lot of things for the NFL alumni, doing some broadcasting and trying to stay involved in the community. And, it's just a great way to keep everyone in touch of what's going on in my life.
It is great stuff, Erik. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, for sharing your story, and for the things that you're doing with the NFL Alumni Association. Bob and I, we hope you'll come back soon, Erik. So much more to get into with you, and certainly want to stay up to date with what you're doing. We hope you'll come back and share more of your stories with us.
I would love to, and thank you guys for having me.
Anytime.
Take care, Erik. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you.
Good night.
That is former Jets, Falcons, and Lions safety Erik Coleman. And Bob, you want to talk about a duo of great safeties, duo of great Jets former safeties that we had on the show tonight. You get Victor Green, and you get Erik Coleman. Boy, we want to talk about great safeties in Jets history. There's two of them right there.
Yeah, Erik had an interesting run here in New York. Just 4 years, Chris, but the first two of them were spent under defensive coordinator Donnie Henderson, who was only in New York. I think he only was a defensive coordinator for 2 or 3 years in the NFL, and both were with Erik Coleman. And Erik I'm sure would attribute a lot of his success to a guy like Henderson, but had a great career here in New York and moved on. And again, as you can see from such a well-spoken guy, Chris has a great future ahead of him in a variety of things.
There you go. All right, when Bob and I come back, we'll be turning on the Thursday night tailgate spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities, and we'll wrap up the show. We'll do that on the other side of these words from our friends over at Kaiven Foods and the Salt Creek Golf Retreat.